all the right people looked good tonight. All the matches were great, and so it's one of those... I dare you to tell me this wasn't an amazing show, guys.
There's gonna be a fight tonight!
What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your April 13th Raw review. As I said in my opener just a second ago, normally I come up here and I try to be the guy that says, hey, I understand why some people wouldn't like this. This is why I did. This is why I'm excited. I hope I can share some of my excitement with you guys. Tonight's show was fucking amazing. Everybody that I personally want to see shine in NXT got a chance to shine tonight. Not all of them won, speaking of one match in particular, but everybody that I like in NXT right now that was on this show got to shine in a way that I thought they were supposed to. So for me, this was an amazing show, and I'm not going to spend this review trying to convince the rest of you that don't agree with me that this was a great show, because I'd rather sit back and enjoy it. Because basically, not to sound egotistical, and not that I think this is actually true, but this episode of NXT was basically booked for me. It was literally, if you had given me all these matches and said these are the people we're throwing out here tonight, there's not a single decision on this show that I disagree with. It was live from WrestleMania Access, which gave it a different feel, slightly different crowd, slightly different audience. In the Bayley Hutchinson Civic Center, I think is the name of the place. Somebody in Texas that knows the names of the buildings in Texas, please correct me down in the box below. But we open up with a backstage segment with William Regal thanking, thanking everybody for the success of NXT TakeOver Dallas, announcing that we're going to get the Vaudevillains versus Ciampa and Gargano tonight, which makes me happy. We're going to see Bayley in her first match since losing to Asuka at TakeOver, and we're going to see Nakamura's debut on NXT against Ty Dillinger. Well, we find out it's against Ty Dillinger later on. But here's the problem I have with NXT not really having a name, because Nakamura's NXT debut was at TakeOver. Here's my example. What's a good name? What's a good name I could think of? Fandango's WWE debut was at WrestleMania. Now, if you want to go on the next night and say his Raw debut was whatever date the night after WrestleMania was, that's fine. But to say that somebody debuted at NXT TakeOver and then they had their NXT debut the following week, it's NXT. The show needs a name. I don't want to use TNA as an example, but TNA is the company, Impact is the show. WWE is the company or the brand. Raw is the show. NXT is the brand, if I want to go the direction of NXT as a separate company. But the show itself doesn't have a name, so to say that it was his NXT debut really rubbed me the wrong way. Obviously, Nakamura is great. I have no problem with Nakamura. I really have no problem with William Regal either. It's just one of those little nitpicky things that they could do a little bit better. Eventually, I'm sure eventually they will give the NXT show a name, but that's sort of par for the course. Austin Aries starts us off in his match against Angelo Dawkins. Angelo Dawkins' nickname is the Curse of Greatness, which is just crap, isn't it? As far as the name, he's got it written on the double headband. He looks like a goof, but whatever. Collar and double type and some great chain wrestling to start. Snapmare by Aries. Dawkins and Aries work over each other's arms. Basically, one will do an arm drag into an arm bar or an arm wrench or something like that. The other will respond in kind. You guys know, if you've been watching this video long enough, the simplest wrestling story that I can see in a wrestling ring that I like personally is sort of that anything you can do, I can do better. Look at Raw. Look at Charlotte using the sharpshooter on Natty. That type of thing. Or if Kofi Kingston pulls off a drop kick and Dolph Ziggler responds with one of his own. It's very simple. It's very, you have to be arrogant to be a fighter. It's a simple, arrogant thing. So to have these two guys working each other's arms virtually at the same time to almost mirror image each other to start the match was a really, really good thing. Side headlock by Aries and a tackle by Dawkins. Rolling arm bars by Aries and a dropkick. Mudhole by Aries. Back elbow by Dawkins. And it is stiff because Dawkins is a big boy. Aries is not the biggest guy in the world, so it's easy for anybody else to look big against him. No shot at Aries. We know he's great, but that is a thing. Clothesline and boots by Dawkins. Both men trade forearms. A front face lock by Dawkins. Mudhole by Dawkins. Forearm shots by Aries. Clothesline and a neck breaker off the second rope by Aries. Hesitation dropkick and a really weird sort of tornado back elbow gets the win for Aries. I don't mind it. Obviously, I'm used to seeing Aries in TNA and seeing him use that snap brainbuster, and if he's not going to do that, the only example I can think of is that it is they're using that snap brainbuster as Finn Balor's finisher. So if you got a guy that is not new but new to NXT using the same finisher as the champion, you get a bit repetitive. I can understand that, but it's a really awkward setup for this back elbow. Do you remember when what the hell was his name? And I got to make another TNA reference in an NXT video. Monty Brown, when he used to do the pounce, he used to throw the guy sideways into the rope. He would go back against the rope and sort of, intersect in the middle type thing. Well, that's basically how the setup for this back elbow went. I mean, it looked painful enough. You don't want to eat the back of anybody's elbow at any given time, no matter what direction it's coming from. But it's a little anticlimactic for those of us that are used to Austin Aries and used to him using that wicked brainbuster and how well he executes it. So one little tiny nitpick in an otherwise great match. Dawkins, I don't have much time for, but he held his own in a match with Aries, and Aries was the one that I was there to see. He got to shine, looked great in this match. I will say, got to look better in this match than he did in his match against Baron Corbin at NXT TakeOver. Corbin and Aries, it made sense. Corbin's riff with William Regal, so he's going to take out Regal's new star. The story made sense. The psychology made sense. Physically in the ring, the match styles, whatever, the old cliche that styles make matches, well, they clashed, no pun intended. And I think both of those guys could have done something better at TakeOver now that I've seen the match. So this was Aries' coming out party, so to speak, and it was really, really good. We see Joe backstage talking about how Balor escaped him twice. He didn't defeat him, he just escaped, and he's going to take his war to Apollo Crews next week for reasons. So we're going to see Apollo Crews versus Samoa Joe next week, which is fine. We have, oh my goodness. Oh, be still my mark out heart. Alexa Bliss, shout out to my buddy Guapo there, versus Tessa Blanchard. And they point out that Tessa Blanchard is related to Tully Blanchard, which is great. And then the commentators for the rest of the match basically talk about the advantages and disadvantages of being a second generation, third generation, familial generation superstar, which is fine, but it sort of takes away from the match a little bit. Collar and elbow tie up twice, front face lock by Bliss, chain wrestling and a pie face by Bliss, shoulder by Tessa and a front slam, multiple stiff forearms in the ropes by Bliss, choke on the ropes by Bliss, and stands on Tessa's chest. Just, fuck the wrestling moves, I'm just going to step on you. It's both physically painful and it sends a message. Alexa Bliss as a heel is fucking fantastic. You couldn't have, this is why I love Emma being on the main roster, you couldn't have two such great heels as Alexa Bliss and Hot Heel Emma, who I'm sure we'll talk about tomorrow night, on the same brand, without making them either a team or have them slowly play a game of one-upsmanship, or one-ups womenship. Is that a word? Is that a thing? Put it down in the box below if you think it is. Without them slowly trying to outdo each other. So to have Emma on Raw doing her thing, or Raw and SmackDown, and to have Alexa Bliss still here doing this is fucking great. Snapmare and a neck vice by Bliss, kitchen sink by Bliss, and she, even something as simple as a kitchen sink, she makes look relatively evil. Chops by Bliss and a rolling clothesline by Tessa. Tessa eats the turnbuckle and responds with a back elbow, which, in her own right, does look pretty damn good. But Alexa Bliss basically rises from the ashes, like a phoenix, pun intended, with the craziest fucking eyes I've ever seen. And yes, I'm including Asuka in that. And basically, she goozles her like she's going to chokeslam her. And I stood up out of my seat for a second. But she turns that goozle into basically a leg sweep, so it looks like what would happen if The Undertaker did a rock bottom. is the only way I can really explain it. But she then does a backflip into a double knee drop to get the win. And again, as far as finishers go, I'm so used to seeing Alexa Bliss do the Sparkle Splash that when she did the backflip double knee press, I thought it was a setup for the Sparkle Splash, and it wasn't. She got the pin, and that's fine. But I really wanted to see, you know, what we're all used to seeing. Just like Aries with the Brainbuster, it was a thing. Bliss is great, and right out of the heel rulebook, the referee is looking and tending to Blanchard on the outside. Alexa Bliss literally takes him by the arm and drags the referee back into the ring and says, no, this is where you're supposed to be, in the middle of this ring, raising my hand. Fucking fantastic. Balor is backstage and says he's still the champion, talks about TakeOver Dallas, puts over Joe. Basically the same idea that Joe said a minute ago, that he didn't soundly defeat Samoa Joe, he just managed to survive again, and then he puts over Nakamura and how excited he is for Nakamura's NXT debut. Tonight, Gargano and Ciampa versus the Vaudevillains, a team that I'm really, really excited about versus a team that I really want to be excited about, but I'm just not, but it's all good. Gotch and Gargano start with arm drags and arm bars by Gargano, pinning reversal sequence, forearm by Gotch. Armbar by English, rolling kick by Gargano, drop kick and a running knee combination by Gargano. Sorry, drop kick / running knee combination by Gargano and Ciampa. Clothesline by Ciampa, armbar and a knee lift off the apron. Dive to the outside by Gargano and an armbar by English. Stomps and an armbar by Gotch. English rides a headlock and separates the fingers. He's got him in a headlock with one hand. The other hand, he's picking up his hand and he's literally just separating the fingers, bending the fingers back, doing all the little things that aren't necessarily going to win you the match, but as an audience member just kind of make you cringe a little bit. It's like when you've sat through a whole horror movie. Who remembers the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Yeah, you see people get their arms and legs literally chopped off with a chainsaw, but what you remember is that one guy getting dragged down the stairs and his nails breaking off as he's trying to hold onto the wall. It's like that, watching the guy do the thing with the hands. It's good. Front slam by English, stomps in an Irish whip, rolling shoulder tackles and a flying forearm by Ciampa. Hooked mic check by Ciampa, and what I mean by that is he gets him in mic check position like Mr. Anderson / Mr. Kennedy used to do, except he hooks the guy's feet on the top rope before he drops him down, so there's literally nothing to break his fall. It's an amazing move, and that insane bridging armbar that Ciampa does, he applies that on Gotch, and they get the win by submission. I really wish that hooked mic check was the finishing move in this match, but it was followed up and made better by that insane bridging armbar, because Ciampa is crazy. That's just a thing. You know, you got Gargano, who's this sort of, I don't know what he was like in the Indies. Again, I don't watch the Indies, as you guys know. But he's sort of that happy-go-lucky, sort of fan favorite. He's got the Johnny Wrestling chants and all this sort of thing. But he's got this partner that's absolutely batshit crazy. And I think that works. I think it works that they separated them out a little bit. They used them as enhancement talents a lot, which I don't like. But they separated them out a little bit. Gargano went a little bit more babyface. Ciampa's not a heel, but he's just gone a little bit more crazy. So now you bring them back together. Now that they've developed their individual personalities a little bit, I think that works. Because, you look at one and you see how different the other is. Gargano is like I say, the happy-go-lucky. He's got the friggin' smiley face on his vest when he comes out, for God's sake. But on the other hand, you got Ciampa that takes this guy's arm in this bridging armbar and just looks like he's making a meal out of it, and that's fucking great. We talked to Ty Dillinger backstage, talks about how his match tonight isn't such a foregone conclusion. He might give him a good run for his money. He leaves, reminds Rich Brennan that he's a 10, and then comes back and hands a 3 card to Rich Brennan, which makes me laugh a lot, because that's fucking brilliant. Tucker Knight versus Baron Corbin is a squash match for Baron Corbin, and we move on. American Alpha talk in the empty arena about what it was like to win the Tag Team Championships at TakeOver Dallas. They are then met by Enzo and Cass, who give them props for winning the belt. That, something they were never able to do. Talk about how they've seen all these different teams come and go, but it's nice to see those belts on a new deserving team. Rah. Said, you don't even have to put your titles on the line, but this needs to happen at some point. Meaning that Enzo and Cass versus American Alpha 1-on-1 is going to happen in the future. We find out later on that night that it is also going to happen next week, along with Cruz versus Joe. Then we see Bayley versus Liv Morgan, which... Okay, I don't want to oversell this, I really don't, because I don't want to be that guy in this video especially. I know that Bayley is Bayley. I know that Bayley is, in the eyes of the IWC and the YWC, the female bubbly equivalent of Daniel Bryan. I get it, and everybody loves her. And she's never going to be booed in a million years, and whoever's facing her has a very tough road to hoe in front of them, do they not? So I know Bayley's going to win this match. She has to rebound from her loss at TakeOver, even though I don't think losing to Asuka is anything to be ashamed of. But she's facing Liv Morgan, who is usually booked as sort of an enhancement talent. I don't want to say jobber, because she's not a jobber. But she's usually used to make other people look good. But I really, really like this chick. This Liv Morgan, I don't know where she's from. I don't know if she's got any history in the indies. You guys know I don't follow that. But she's really, really good. And I like her. And this is where I said at the beginning of the video, everybody that I wanted to see shine got to shine tonight, even the ones that didn't win. That's this match. Obviously, Bayley's going to win this match. Obviously. You could walk into this match blindfolded and know that Bayley's going to win this match. But Liv Morgan got to look good enough that it didn't hurt my feelings. It got to put a bit of shine on her. So let's go. Collar and elbow tie up and an armbar by Bayley and another one by Morgan. Again, that simple storyline that I love. Anything you can do, I can do better. You want to lock an armbar on me? I'll lock an armbar on you. Here we go. Morgan matrixes out, which brings me to the thought for the very first time of who Morgan reminds me of. Now, Trish Stratus is a big name to drop. I don't think that Liv Morgan is, 10 years later Hall of Fame Trish Stratus. Liv Morgan is just got to the WWE, loaded with potential, let's see what she can do, Trish Stratus. So Liv Morgan is NXT's Trish Stratus, and that's just how it's going to be going forward. I'm going to sneeze any minute now. It's going to happen. Handspring, here we go. Matrix by Morgan, and then Bayley hits her with some sort of awkward takedown thing. But we get a handspring, handstand, helicopter head scissor by Morgan. The quadruple H, I'm going to call it. Crossface by Bayley, side headlock and a back elbow. Shoulder tackle by Morgan, and a bulldog and a monkey flip. But because it's Bayley, and because she springs up like the proverbial pimple on prom night and gets the win with the Bayley to belly, which is still the stupidest name for a move in history. But at least somebody won tonight with the finisher that I thought they were going to win with. Nakamura versus Dillinger. What did you think was going to happen here? The fans go nuts when Nakamura comes out to the ring. They go nuts when the match doesn't start right away, and he just dances and he plays mind games with Dillinger, as he does, as I'm led to believe he did in Japan. Because we've got the perfect 10 Ty Dillinger in the ring, the crowd starts chanting for Nakamura, chanting he's 11, which is great. And I tell you, from here till the end of the match, we have this NXT crowd chanting 11. Corey Graves at one point points out that 11 is a very hard word because it's multiple syllables and the crowd cannot get into rhythm chanting 11, which is fully true because they don't, and it's just a cheering mess, but it's still cool. The crowd's having fun. It's all good. Lots and lots of chain wrestling that I'm not even going to try to identify to start the match. Collar and elbow tie up in a kitchen sink, and lots of kicks by Nakamura. More kicks and more kicks and more kicks, and a corner choke by Nakamura. Super kick by Dillinger and some mounted punches. Dillinger stomps on the hands and knees in the face. A lot. Dillinger rides a headlock with a post in the back, which is cool because you think you might be getting the little bit of a psychological story, and then you look at the clock and you see there's about a minute left in the show, so that's not going to go anywhere. Enziguri by Nakamura twice in a corner choke. The running knee in the corner by Nakamura, and then he hits the big knee, which I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, is the Kinshasa. Somebody that knows more about Nakamura than me, which is pretty much everybody, please, whatever the hell that move is called, please spell it phonetically down in the comment section below. If you've never done me a favor before on this channel ever, please tell me how to say / pronounce that move. From listening to Corey Graves and Tom Phillips, it sounds like they're saying Kinshasa. And if that's the case, then fine. If I'm saying it wrong, then I would really honestly love somebody to correct me. Nakamura gets the obvious win. Nakamura is a lot of fun. Nakamura is kind of a warped, Goldust meets Michael Jackson meets Daniel Bryan meets... he's great. He's entertaining. I like the characters. I sometimes, I don't want to say all the time because some of them are just fucked. I like the characters where I look at them and at the first glance I don't know exactly what they are. And that's where I am with Nakamura right now. And that's fun, and that's fine, and this was a hell of a debut. Dillinger is another one that I'm sure could be good, could be a more prominently featured guy on the NXT roster, but he's known for being an enhancement talent. And let's be real, he is the Miz of NXT. He goes out there, he says smart ass shit just enough to want you to see him get his ass kicked. He holds his own just enough in the ring that it's not a squash match. Everybody wins. Dillinger at the end of the day did his job in this match. Nakamura looked fucking great. Can't wait to see what he does next. And already excited for next week because we've got Enzo and Cass versus the American Alpha and Joe versus Cruz for reasons that are beyond me. Guys, as I said, normally I would be the super positive guy, you know, really trying to rev everybody else up, really trying to say, hey, come on guys, don't you enjoy the show? Don't you enjoy the show? I don't care. And that's not meant to offend any of you guys, but I really don't care. This show, as much as I'm tired and I'm not probably expressing it very well, this show is fucking phenomenal. I don't see any faults in this match at all, other than, you know, you had the Baron Corbin match that I didn't give a shit about, but I'm not gonna lie, I fast-forwarded that match, so it's all good. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger, I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I'm tagging out, bye.
Like me.